Funny story, not sure if you know this, but I learned that the founders of Firefly, when they had launched that platform, they literally were the ones in the background
taking the notes. I saw that on LinkedIn.
And on the front end, no one knew. Of course, they all thought it was an AI product.
AI sometimes gets really excited and jumps ahead of itself. It hallucinates, it does extra you didn't ask it to do. So let's break this into phases so that, especially if you're a technical founder, there's a tendency to fall in love with your product and not talk to the right people. Now, on the other end of the spectrum are the founders who are not technical at all. And what I found in my experience speaking with those founders is, tell me about the first thing you built with AI.
Yeah, so the first thing I had done was my daughter and her friend were building.
How long did it take you to do this? So was it a day? Was it half a day?
The first prompt literally took minutes.
Did you have to debug anything? Was there any payment?
Now you're getting too deep. So we've learned about 3 common founder errors, right? The first is, for the technical guys, please do not Welcome to Periscope podcast, a podcast where we help founders see what they otherwise may not know. Our goal with this podcast is to really break down what you need as a founder to build a successful business, whether that's on the tech side, marketing, legal, governance, things you don't worry about that you should worry about. That's what we are here to share with you. We will take different episodes and different topics as we progress. And today we'll be discussing low code, no code, vibe coding. Do you know what that means? Is it all buzzwords to you? How can you apply that in your business? That is exactly why we are here today. So we can all learn how best to use all these tools to help build our businesses and our startups successfully. I am Lola and I am the host of the show with you today. And I have Tarebi.
Hi everyone, I'm Tarebi. I am going to be the tech expert today that will talk you through all the different tools. So if you're currently building and your developer or engineers have given you a quote that is, making you rethink your entire life, this is the episode for you. I'm really excited to go over all the tools.
I am too. Yeah. I am as well, because you hear this term literally left, right, and center, and you often don't even know how to differentiate between each one.
Yep, and a lot of times too, I think there's some additional layer of complexity people add when they're discussing it, just to sound, I don't want to say just sound more intelligent, but there are a lot of words used that don't always need to use. And ultimately, I think what matters for the founders is this going to bring my product to market or not? So can I build with it or not? Forget all the extra. They're important, but
yeah. And which one can you use in a cost-effective manner as well? Because these tools actually are not cheap, right? You're paying, in some cases, like $50 per month, $100 per month subscription.
So I would say it's relative, because at the end of the day, what's the cost of a full engineering team versus if you spend $100 or $200 to actually build a solid MVP? I think, I think if you look at it that way, it's not expensive.
Fair enough. Okay. But it all adds up. So which one is worth that $100 and which one is worth you spending time to use to build your MVP? So I think that's what we'll be touching on.
Covering. I'm
quite excited.
Yep, and different things for different founders depending on what stage they are.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
Can't wait.
Now you've been building QShop for how long now?
About 5 years.
And how is it going?
It's been rough.
Yeah.
It's been good and it's been bad. So tons of lessons. You would think that as a technical founder, engineering is not our problem. And it's not our problem, but then there are other problems that come when you're a technical founder. I will dive deeper into that when we start the conversation. But by and large, it's been good.
I can't wait to get started.
Same here.
Let's dive right in. So our topic today, Tarebi, is no code, no problem. We want to be sure that founders that don't have a deep technical background can still push out their MVP without knowing how to code in depth. So that's the whole purpose of this today's episode. And you've been a developer for how many years now?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
20 years.
Okay.
I'm aging myself.
Okay.
Over 20 years.
And you built a range of products. I remember when you started Sugar.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've done event tools, Sugar is still alive.
Yeah.
We've built for government, we've built for the private sector.
Amazing.
We've done e-commerce, we've done legal, so just a really, really wide range of tools. And, different things are needed for each type of, for different industries, yeah.
And I'm sure you've also seen how the sector has evolved over the last 20 years.
Absolutely. So in fact, I would go back to, let's even say 10 years ago. If you were building something and you were not sure what to do, of course, Google was your friend. They'll Stack Overflow.
I remember when Google launched. Do you remember when Google launched?
Yeah.
Remember exactly where I was actually.
Where were you?
I was in undergrad, so this is a while back.
Yep.
And it was like magic, right? You put in your search
and it was
term.
And it was fantastic.
And it worked so well. It was such a clean page. Coming from Yahoo, from...
I think MSN was...
MSN as well. There was Ask Jeeves.
There was
Ask Jeeves.
There was, do you remember when Gmail launched? They had a wait list.
Yes.
So I was on the wait list.
I was on the wait list too.
So I have my first name.
Same.
So you're a proper OG then. Also, you're tech. Yes.
No code.
So you're tech. Yeah, proper tech.
Yeah.
Now, so before, if you were building something and you didn't know how to do it, you would Google, you would go to Stack Overflow and ask. And in fact, like a popular joke with engineers is, what's the difference between a senior and a junior engineer? A senior engineer just knows what to Google.
Right.
The junior engineer is still, scrambling, trying to figure out exactly. So coming from that world to where we are today, where literally you could tell ChatGPT or Claude or whoever, I want to build a game. And if you give it enough instructions, literally in one prompt, you could have a functional game. You're not going to be a millionaire off that game, but it will work. Like it's almost magic.
And it's moving so quickly as well. It's really tough to keep up with all the new tools. I remember when I actually tested Lovable for the first time. And I didn't believe that
what was possible.
Could, build literally a website with one prompt.
Yeah. So tell me about the first thing you built with AI.
Yeah. So the first thing I had done was my daughter and her friend were building a small business called Craft Masters.
Okay.
They crochet, they knit, and they're looking to sell their product online. So they had this whole business model. Yes.
Well done.
I was trying to build a website using traditional coding
HTML.
Yep. And I thought, I've been hearing this thing Lovable. Let's give it a try.
Okay.
And we went on to it and put in, please build a website for young teens to sell.
Fantastic. How long did it take you to do this? So was it a day? Was it half a day?
The first prompt literally took minutes.
Did you have to debug anything? Was there any payment?
Now you're getting too deep.
So it worked as it. So you're one of the lucky ones then. That means you prompt really well.
Well, it just worked to pull up 3 pages, 4 pages, the main page, the item page. We didn't go far to payment.
So it did what it was meant to do.
And it was more for the experience, right? To see, hey, you don't have to know how to code, which is also what we are talking about today, to build a functional MVP.
Absolutely.
For my 12-year-old daughter.
Absolutely. So if your 12-year-old can do it, then anyone can do it. I think with a lot of founders today, and they're technical founders, they're non-technical founders, first thing is, before we even get into what tool, should we use Lovable, should we use Cursor, should we hire a full team, you have to understand what your MVP is supposed to do. So what are you trying to learn from your MVP? Because sometimes you don't even need to build anything.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a WhatsApp message. Maybe, you are the pretend bot on the other side of WhatsApp, getting some useful information. So, it's when you think, for a lot of founders, when they think tech startup, there's that pressure of, oh my God, my team, CTO, lead engineer, front end, back end, full stack, and it can be really overwhelming. So just breathe. It's okay. You don't need to have all the pieces figured out. And once you're clear on what your MVP is, then you start to play around with different tools.
Funny story, not sure if you know this, but I learned that the founders of Firefly, when they had launched that platform, they literally were the ones in the background taking
the notes. I saw that on LinkedIn.
Yes,
I saw that.
They were the ones taking notes, and on the front end, no one knew. They all thought it was an AI product.
I have mixed feelings about that one.
Okay, what do you mean?
So I'm all for faking your MVP. many people do. And I mean, don't build more than you need to, but there's a bit of, I think for that, it's fine line privacy. Do I want two people I don't know in my meeting taking notes? I know AI also, I don't have the privacy, but it's different. It's not a person. So I don't know how I feel about that one, but definitely same principle applies depending on what you're building.
We'll come back
you don't
to
always
data
have to.
privacy for sure.
Yeah.
I think people don't think about that when they kick off building
Yep.
their business and
Yep.
what the implication actually could be
Yep.
if they violate some of the, if it's GDPR rules
Yep,
in the EU
'cause you could get in big
or
trouble.
the Nigerian. Yes, you could. I mean,
That's in big
Facebook
trouble.
was, you know,
Has
was
had massive
fined.
fines.
Was it
Yep.
$200
Yeah,
million
yeah, and constantly.
by the
Yeah.
Nigerian government just
Yep.
recently? So yeah, it is actually huge
A big
deal.
one, yeah. So imagine if they're doing that with the bigger startups, then think of your teeny weeny startup, which will be massive. I'm not saying it won't be big. We're all on our way there. But for some things, especially if you're in a heavily regulated space, it is really essential that you start right. If your space isn't as regulated, then yes, by all means, play around till you find what works before you start to build out your engineering team. But
let's take a step back, right? No code, low code, vibe coding. Let's
should we
just
do?
even define the terms.
okay. All right. So let's start with no code.
Yeah.
No code would mean that you're not touching any code. You're not, tweaking any functions. You're not writing anything. You're using maybe a tool like Bubble or Frame.
I've heard of Bubble actually.
Bubble actually was the thing before AI.
Really?
Yeah. So before AI
I've
became,
heard of Bumble.
No, Lola, different show. so, Bubble was like, or is, it's still alive and well. It helped founders build no-code apps. So you don't know any code, you can't afford a developer.
How does that work?
I mean, I'm not a no-coder.
Yeah.
So I haven't
Fair
used
enough.
it.
Okay.
But I know it was used to build quite a number of products, even to production.
Yeah. Okay,
Before they
amazing.
transitioned, and it was I would say the most popular no-code tool before all the 5 million AI builders popped up. Then we can move on to the low code. So the AI builders actually are low code because they generate the code for you. You can actually edit the code. If you're more proficient, you can do a lot more with what they're giving you. And then if you also don't know any code, they're great. So like a Lovable that you mentioned is fantastic. There's also Replits. There's even some of the traditional Wix and Co, which were previously no code.
So Wix would count
Wix
as
would be no code.
Yes,
Yes,
because
Wix
they're basically dragging, dropping
exactly.
to
Even
build your
QShop is
website.
no code.
Got it.
You know, I'm here looking for examples, and I have one right in my portfolio. So anything.
For those that don't know what QShop is, why don't you tell us?
Okay, so QShop is an e-commerce SaaS platform that allows retailers across Africa sell online easily. They don't need any code, as we're talking about no
Fantastic.
code.
So just
And
drag and drop the
drag and
pieces.
drop out the box. They have payments integrated. They have shipping integrated.
Inventory as well?
Inventory management. You know,
Amazing.
everything that you would need to run e-commerce. So that's an example of no code. Wix is also no code, though they've also started to add some AI builders. So if you wanted to do some level of customization, I think they expose the code a bit.
I must
so that
give
you can do
Wix
some
props though. They've stuck around
They have
through all
they
the
have,
waves.
They have. There's Wix, there's Squarespace. I don't know if you've ever used
that's
Squarespace.
right. Yeah. I had
so-
used Weebly many, many years ago. Not sure if you remember
I know
that.
Weebly,
Yeah, but
yeah,
Weebly
I
didn't
know.
make it.
Yeah, because there's so much competition. There's so much
Honestly.
competition, and different groups are looking for different things. So I find that the platforms that kind of do everything for everyone struggle a bit because they don't solve any one problem really well.
So Shopify
Shopify has
e-commerce.
dominated.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because they're not,
they're not trying to do
exactly all things.
content and
Exactly.
creative
Yeah, and
work.
services
It's really
and
just,
legal. It's just e-commerce. And
they do that
everything you
well.
need. They
Yeah.
do really well.
Yeah, yeah.
They do it really,
Amazing.
really well.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so those are the,
So those are the
on the low code.
low code,
So those
yeah.
are the low code. And of course, regular code, how regular code is, you'll be an engineer and you have the right tools to use. But what a lot of engineers are doing now is AI assisted coding, where in your IDE, your programming environment, you almost have like an AI assistant that you're asking questions and it will generate the files for you to sort of build your scaffold, depending on how you want it.
So that's Cursor.
That's Cursor. That's
Vercel
That's
would be-
Vercel.
Nah. Okay.
Vercel, I wouldn't put in the same category as Cursor.
Why? Maybe just describe to the audience what Vercel actually does.
Okay, so Vercel is a platform that allows you to host your front end code only. They also have a tool called, I think it's VODev or something, that generates really nice UI UX, and it will give you the code in React, and then you can copy and paste that into something else. So it's not a full platform where I want to develop backend, I want to define my data structures, I want to do all of that fun stuff that actually brings an application to life. Cursor would be the closest to that. Google also recently launched Antigravity.
Okay, I've not heard of that. There's
It's
many
new.
products
It's
that
new.
Google has launched recently.
Yes. So Google is on fire.
Nano Banana was the recent one I heard, where you could, paste, merge
images, all sorts of things.
All kind of funky
They have Notebook LM, where it will generate podcasts.
Paula loves Notebook LM.
I love all of them. I'm in a polygamous relationship with all the AIs. We compare notes like, okay, so ChatGPT said this. No.
But Gemini, what do you think?
Exactly. So, but there's Antigravity. Antigravity, I think, is just a month or two. I'm not sure. It's quite new.
Okay.
I'm testing that out now. And
so that's similar to Cursor.
That's very similar to Cursor.
Okay.
So now the drawback with these tools is they're super powerful, but imagine you gave a 10-year-old all the power in the world. They can do everything, but they are not necessarily sure how to. So depending on how well you prompt or instruct them, your results will vary.
Okay, so let's take a pause there, right? Because point number one, guys, is know the difference between no code and low code. No code meaning it's some automation, it's using tools where you're not actually writing
any code or edit.
Or even prompting code necessarily, right? So drag and drop tools like QShop if you are an e-commerce business in Nigeria. Tools like Shopify, like Squarespace, like
Squarespace.
Those are low code tools. So no code tools.
Yes.
And low code tools are tools where there's a little bit of prompting involved, little bit of coding involved, and you get assistance from tools like
Lovable,
Cursor.
Lovable would be more low code. Cursor is full.
It's full on coding.
Okay.
All right. Now, if Lovable is low code, how is low code and vibe coding then different?
So, vibe coding is, it's one of those phrases that people have a love-hate relationship with. I find that a lot of technical people push back on vibe coding because it's a bit of a threat. You've spent so many years honing a craft and you wake up one day and one software or something is doing what you've slaved for years to do. So I can understand the pushback. But vibe coding I define more as those who are not really engineers, but they're just kind of vibing their way through it. Like, okay, I'm just going to ask. I'm not really sure what's happening on the back end, but it works. I don't know if it's a mess behind, but I can get it to do what I need to do. But where an actual engineer is doing AI-assisted coding, that's not vibe coding, because you are actually building enterprise production grade software as long as you are following clearly what is happening and you are directing, not even just following. So you are the architect saying, this is the structure I want. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And then what it's helping you do is all the filler tasks. So things that you know how to do but are time consuming.
So that's where Cursor comes in.
That's where Cursor comes in. That's where
Antigravity comes in.
Yeah. Now, does it mean that Lola cannot go on Cursor and use it? Absolutely, she can use it, but it's not so you know how Lovable has the interface, you can see what's happening as you're prompting. Cursor isn't giving you all of that. You're just looking at your code and files.
So you must know what the code actually
some idea. Yes. I did forget to mention Claude Code. Claude Code is also quite good.
So that's comparable to...
That's more comparable to Cursor. Yes. But it runs from your terminal, like on Mac. So well, I don't know how to describe it, but it runs from your terminal and it's just like command line and build. It does testing, all that, again, depending on how you prompt it. I'm also finding that people are using tools like Gemini, like Claude Code, to perform other functions on their laptops, not just code. So I was watching, and I know TikTok is not the ultimate source, but I was watching a video on TikTok and this lady was talking about, I haven't tried it yet, so take this with a pinch of salt. I was talking about how she uses Claude Code to basically organize her laptop. So rename files, put them in the right structure because it has access to your computer.
So how does that actually work?
because you're running it on a Mac, at least you're running it from terminal, which is like the command.
That's Claude code.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Non-interface,
Got it. Yes. Where you have the little arrow and you can put the
you
prompt.
just got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
So you could say, okay, do this with my documents, do that, scan through this.
Interesting.
And so there are other aspects. It's not always, I'm building a product, I'm going to use Claude code. So that's
really
a case I want to try
out. Guys, even just to organize your life, organize your files, make it a little bit easier for yourself. Coding, low-code tools can actually support with that.
Absolutely.
I did not know that.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about prompting and how best to create the right prompts to get the right results. I mean, there's a whole prompt engineering, which was a term that I came across recently. Yeah, break it down.
Okay, so first of all, so let's say, I think it's easier if we do this with an example.
Yeah.
Let's say we are trying to build the e-commerce for your daughter's business.
Yeah.
And we know that we're selling crafts. We want it to build the e-commerce site for us, okay? So what we will do is we first have to be very clear on our vision. We want an e-commerce site. Who is the e-commerce site for? What is it supposed to do? How do people access it? Are they going to primarily be on their phones? Is it web? It doesn't mean that it won't work on either, but just so UI UX makes sense. Is it what location? So is this Nigeria? Is this global? Is this, because for instance, in Nigeria registration, you may find that WhatsApp works better than email. So just those types of decisions you kind of have to make first. My typical process is once I have the bare bones, I would go to a Claude or ChatGPT and then generate what's called a PRD. A PRD is a product requirement document. So, chat or chat, whatever
now,
you call
your ChatGPT. Now, this could just be like a Word document, right?
A Word document. It can copy and paste your notes.
Okay. All right.
And you go to Chatty or whatever you call it and say, I'm trying to build this thing. This is a rough idea. Let's workshop it here first.
Yeah.
I need a PRD. And once you're clear on, what stack versus what, I tend to lean towards the stack that I am familiar with.
And so if you say stack.
So stack would be
again,
your
these
programming
are
language.
Founders that are not
I apologize. So stack would be what are your programming language and database choices, things like that. What do you want to use for WhatsApp? Are we using Meta's API? Are we using Twilio? Are we using Termi? I mean, there are different providers. And if you don't know what they are, you could ask, why this versus that? And the LLMs hallucinate, so please fact check.
Yeah, okay.
They're giving you information. So once you've agreed on all of that, you generate your PRD, you take your PRD to a Claude or wherever it is you're building, a Claude code, a cursor, and say, this is what I'm trying to build.
Okay.
I want to do it in phases. That's very important for a big project. Otherwise, you're going to have a jumbled code of
Got it. So those types of phases are like the front end, or think of it as the menus at the top of the site?
So it could be, some people like to do, let me complete the back end before I do front end. Okay. I have a preference to do the two at the same time so that when I'm testing a flow, I'm testing a complete flow.
Okay.
It's not, I'm doing just testing API endpoints and then now we're going to come back later and do. So it really depends on
to imagine
you have to be in charge of the process.
Flow.
Now, the reason you want it in phases is, AI sometimes gets really excited and jumps ahead of itself.
It hallucinates.
It hallucinates. It does extra you didn't ask it to do. So let's break this into phases so that, and more importantly, I want to be able to test at each stage. So you definitely don't want to wait till everything is done to start testing and then trying to fix. Not saying you can't fix it, it's just more tedious that way. Once it's done the phases, if you're fine with the phases, then you tell it, all right, proceed with phase one. It does phase one, you test, you move on to the next and all of that.
And in terms of how you define each phase, it's really the workflow or the process you're looking for it to achieve. Is that how you think about the phases, or their features that you envision for the end product?
Okay, so that could vary depending on who is building. For me personally, I group features. Okay. So it could be phase one, we're setting up our projects, we're going to set up the endpoints for the WhatsApp messages, blah, 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 blah. It may ask you for some, because we're using third-party tools, it would want API keys. So it may be, okay, we're just setting up our environments. This is how we're storing
API keys. Again.
Okay, we'll come back.
We'll come back to it.
We'll come back to what the API keys are. But it's just the setting up the foundation.
Yes.
And feel free. I mean, you've told it to give you phases, but feel free to also interrogate those phases if you don't agree. So if there's another part of the project you would prefer to work in first, then say it. If you're not sure if where you're starting is a better place, then you can ask and say, I want to start with X, Y, and Z first. Is this going to affect anything else, or can we start here? Most times they will adjust or give you a balanced view depending on how you ask. So coming back to your question about prompting, it really is just being as specific as possible.
For that chunk of work that you wanted to do.
For that chunk of work that you
Got
wanted
it.
to do, and understanding that it is your project.
Right. It's not ChatGPT's
It's not ChatGPT's project,
Yeah.
because ChatGPT will have a field day and do what
Yeah.
it wants to do. So that's I would say is the main thing when it comes to prompting.
Okay, fantastic. So let's then summarize that. So one thing to keep in mind as you think about prompting your choice LLM platform is to be specific, number one, right? And to also provide details on what you're looking to build, who you're building it for. Think through your product in phases, right? And create a PRD, which is the product requirements documentation, which you can create in ChatGPT, you can create in Gemini, in Claude, right? So once you then have your PRD, as part of that process, make sure you're clear on the chunks of work that you actually want your tool of choice, whether a low-code tool or a AI-assisted tool to help you build. And define that very clearly. And then take that PRD and migrate it into the tool
of choice.
And work with it. But it's key to test at every single phase.
Absolutely. So what you don't want to do is build everything and then start to test. You want to break it into chunks. You can break it into chunks yourself, or you can ask the tool to break it into chunks in a way that makes sense.
You need to be structured in your thinking. So that's clearly what's coming through here, right? So you can't
100%.
really have
can't
to
just
think
freestyle.
through. You can't just freestyle. You really have to think through in a very structured manner how you're looking to build this MVP.
Absolutely.
Which, frankly, all founders should have that skill set. You can't build without some level of structure.
Thoughts,
but you all know how hard it is.
It's easier said than done sometimes. Because, sometimes you have your perfect plan and you're going to build this and you have your PRD and maybe you get some additional data that you didn't have before and all of that flies out the window.
That's
and
true.
50% done. Exactly. So structure, but with some flexibility.
Let's discuss some common founder errors and some that maybe you may have fallen into, right? In just building products you've built.
So I would say the first one, which I am really familiar with, is over engineering. So my default is when I think of a product, I think of a business, I tend to think about the product first. How will it work? How will it work on the back end?
The money.
I like the money. Don't get me wrong. So once we've done that bit on Excel, I'm thinking about the product. I'm thinking of the code, how, what's possible, what's not possible, and all of that. And sometimes, especially if you're a technical founder, there's a tendency to fall in love with your product and not talk to the right people. So who is actually
meaning your stakeholders, your customers?
Your customers. Who are you building this for? Because you're not building it for yourself. So who is using it? What value are they getting out of it? And whatever problem your product is solving for them, how do they solve that problem today? So the way they solve it today may be manual, but maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe you're the one who thinks, oh, this is so tedious. It should be an app, but maybe they don't care.
There's so many apps that shouldn't exist.
Exactly. So definitely start there. I would say a lot of technical founders fall there.
So one, do not over-engineer the product.
You have to talk to your customers, so your prospective customers. Now, on the other end of the spectrum are the founders who are not technical at all. And what I found in my experience speaking with those founders is they also tend to think they need a lot more than they actually need to start.
In terms of
product, in terms of a team. It's like, I need a CTO, I need 4 engineers, I need a machine learning expert. I need
front end, back end, like UI, UX.
You don't need that much to test out. You will get there. But the first thing you want to do is build an MVP that validates something for you.
But I get it though, right? Because non-technical founders just need a sense of comfort that this thing would work.
Yeah,
so
but
the more
comfort
people is expensive. So the more you sort of gather around yourself, the more maybe you feel that, okay, now I am geared and ready to go. But your point is you really have to just
you
have the confidence that, look, let's not go there just yet. Let's start small. And let's use some of the tools available, right, for free in lots of cases to truly test which direction to build this product.
And then once you're sure you have that, I know that this thing we're building that we have tested in some back way, some manual like our Firefly. We know it's needed. Then you can start to invest a bit in tech.
At what point do you know to invest in tech? Do you think it's a revenue point? Do you think it's a user adoption point? Like what metric
I would say user adoption.
You be looking at?
User adoption. So depending on the product, when you're close to PMF, or ideally you even have product market fit.
Product market fit, yes. We should all know that, guys. That we should all know.
When you have product market fit, and product market fit can be difficult. It's really difficult to get. So when you have product market fit, then you can start to properly. It doesn't mean that you can't have a small team before that, but you definitely don't want to bring a Facebook CEO level
charging you thousands.
Not that they don't have value, but where you're still unclear as to what your product direction is, because however confident you are in the direction you're going, there's a high chance it's going to change. So you don't want to hire for a direction you're not sure of yet.
But on that point, actually, and I know people have different perspectives on this, and no digs on Facebook engineers.
Of course.
But do you actually feel that engineers coming from smaller companies, from startups, would do better than the big name brand, whether it's Facebook, Google, pick your favorite tech company, your favorite alphabet? They're now called like Mango, right? I mean,
it's no longer Fang.
It used to be Fang. I think it's now Mango.
I'm not even up to date.
With NVIDIA, in it. So Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Google, and always.
Fancy.
I can't remember which one.
So we the non-Mangos. No, so what I think different engineers bring different things. If you're at a point where you have serious skill, there is value you're going to get from those engineers that you won't get from a startup. An engineer coming from a startup that hasn't, accomplished that type of scale, because they don't even know what they don't know. There are some things you don't know till you've done it before. But if you're just starting out, someone from a smaller startup is fine. But I think most important of all, at least for me, is ego and character, and because we all tend to over-index on skills and this and that. But many times, and I know this is not Mango engineers or Fang engineers, when you have that breadth of experience, and it's natural, you're like, okay, I'm hot stuff. I don't understand this rinky-dinky startup and why you need me to do 7 things. Well,
when I was doing one,
and focus on one thing.
Whatever you're even offering me.
So you have to manage that a bit.
Culture fit is a key
Culture
one.
fit is major.
We have to do an episode on culture fit, on finding the right people, finding your tribe, making sure you have shared values.
Even when you're an introvert. Because very important.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've learned about 3 common founder errors, right? The first is, for the technical guys, please do not over-engineer the product, okay? Before you go from 0 to 1,000%, make sure you pause, test with your stakeholders, test with your customers, with your users, see what works for them before progressing in your build. For the non-technical guys, yes, it feels good to have a blanket of people around you to make you comfortable, but actually, yes, you can, right? And you can do it on a much smaller scale. You can build a simple MVP with some of the tools we had discussed earlier, whether it's the no-code tools, the low-code tools, or the AI-assisted tools. And with the right prompt engineering, yes, you can. And then the third point you had mentioned was, even at the point when you decide to upgrade, right? Keep an eye out for the right individual that has the necessary technical skills for the stage that you're at in your business. We will all get to zebra,
We'll all
unicorn
get
status.
there.
We would all get there, but it's a journey. And find your tribe, find your crew for every stage you're in that journey. Amazing conversation, Tarebi. I think this has been so valuable.
Thank you.
We've gotten some questions from our audience, and I think it'd be good to go through maybe 2 or 3 of them and get your perspective.
All right.
So I'm just going to pull that up.
All right.
So the first one says, and I think we've actually answered some of this,
Okay. That's good.
which is very good. But I'll touch on the data governance one.
Okay.
So one question here says, I realized I might be neglecting some data governance and privacy measures. Okay. What's the easiest way to implement these today to protect my users and my business?
So that's really broad.
Yeah. How do we build compliance, governance, and prevent all the regulators from chasing us?
Yeah, that's really broad. So I guess if I zoom out a bit, from a product perspective, you want to be careful with personal identifiable information for your users. So that's
PII, guys. That's name, phone number, email address.
Things like that. You don't want that hard-coded anywhere. You don't even want it in the logs.
Okay.
Because sometimes when you're coding, you have your debug logs because you want to see what's happening. We have the tendency to just, sprinkle, all the user information there, and bad practice, definitely.
So where do we store that? Or what do we do with PII data?
So your user data should be in your database and your database only, and some of it needs to be encrypted. Okay. Not all of it needs to be, but some of it needs to be encrypted. Which brings me to the next point: who actually has access to your database? Is it, is your entire company database on somebody's laptop somewhere that is
sending files back and forth?
Sending files back and forth. So just some basic common sense things. With your keys, which I touched on API keys earlier, and basically what an API key is, for anyone who doesn't know, think of it almost like a secret to access another service. So as an example, I want to use the WhatsApp API to send a message, okay? How does WhatsApp know that it is Tarebi that is trying to send this message to Lola's number? WhatsApp will give me a key.
How do I ask WhatsApp for that key, for that
So
API?
when you sign up as a developer,
so
then you can generate, they have a separate, most platforms do. When you sign up as a developer.
So it's not the WhatsApp that we're using every day to be chatting. It means the same product,
WhatsApp, but there's a different
section for developers.
Then you would generate your keys, and sometimes you have different keys for different things, different levels of access. So you generate your key, and then as you send requests back and forth to WhatsApp, that's how you're authenticated. So a lot of times when people's keys are compromised, that's when there's drama. So the key to your OpenAI, your ChatGPT account, for instance, and then somebody sees it on your GitHub account, and that's where Lovable and a lot of those tools have received a lot of backlashes for things like that, where they stored keys directly in the code.
Oh, I see.
And then because most people store their code on GitHub, which is a versioning platform, it's easy to scan and find keys, and then what's some.
Is that public though? Like your GitHub account?
Your GitHub by default is public.
Oh, really? I didn't know that,
except you make it private.
Okay. So guys, if you're on GitHub, go and check that your GitHub account is on private mode.
Your projects are. So for each project, you can set public or private.
Okay.
So most times default, because that's also how we learn. You don't know how to do something. I remember many years ago, I was trying to do an InterSwitch integration, and I wasn't getting what I needed from their documentation. So I scanned through different people's repos, like, okay, how did they implement this? So there is a case for, repos to be public, not a major deal, but your keys cannot be in that repo. Yes, they definitely should not be in the code. So so that's one thing you need to do. Then if you're an organization that's handling a lot of data, you definitely need to get, I think it's a license or something from NDPR. And the process is basically they come do some sort of audit.
NDPR is a Nigerian data privacy regulator. Regulatory agency.
I'm not sure,
Yes.
Data.
We'll put it on the...
So they do some sort of audits, and a lot of times that also exposes areas where you're weak, and then you know what's to improve. So even things like your Teams, laptops, two-factor authentication, all of that.
Changing passwords every 90 days, every 60 days, not sharing passwords.
Not putting it on a sticky notes on your laptop now.
Do people still do that? Yeah. Oh, okay, guys.
People do. So none of that.
Okay. All right. So let's take the next question.
Okay.
I recently launched a simple Webflow landing page with Airtable and Zapier automation to onboard my first 50 paying users. As traffic goes, I'm noticing delays, duplicate data, and frustrated early adopters.
Okay.
How should I migrate my critical flows to code without disrupting users?
Okay, a lot of questions there. First off, congrats on launching. I would say it doesn't sound like, does he or she say how many users they have now?
Well, he or she is trying to onboard their first 50 paying users.
Yeah, 50
So
paying users,
users.
you don't need to migrate anywhere. You're just fine on Webflow and Zapier.
But then they're noticing delays, duplicate data, so frustrated early adopters.
Yeah, so without knowing the specific problems and looking at the actual setup, I would guess that it's something to do with the way it was set up, as opposed to those tools being the problem. I don't think that the person has outgrown
Don't always jump
to
we're
ready for
the next level.
So 50 users, Airtable definitely can handle 50 users. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. We'll take one more. Okay. So we'll take this one. Which part of my current startup stack should I simplify with no-code tools? I feel stuck and unsure where to start. So it sounds like they've already built something with traditional coding, and they feel they now need no code because that's the buzzword. So maybe they don't even need no code. If it's working,
then don't stop looking for problems.
Yeah, don't fix it if it's not broken.
Yeah. It's fine. So if this person doesn't already have I would say basic error logging in place, maybe they can use some tools for that. There's New Relic, there's Sentry. If they're looking for some more analytics, there's Clarity, there's Posthog. So all of those are very simple integrations, and it would expose a lot more about their code and even areas that may be inefficient.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Guys, this was so insightful and so valuable. I hope you learned as much as I did actually in this conversation with Tarebi. Tarebi, any last words for our audience?
Just get started.
Don't overthink it. Just take that first step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. With one step. Please follow us on our social media platforms. You can send us questions on our website. If you go to the website, www.periscope.media, scroll down, you see a section, like a Slido section where you can add questions. Please reach out to us with all those questions. We'd love to take them on subsequent episodes. Follow us on LinkedIn, TikTok, periscope.podcast, Twitter @perismedia, and Instagram, periscope.podcast. Okay, looking forward to hearing more from you, and thanks so much for your time.